Howdy, howdy. Today it's Friday. Somewhere, yes, that's right, somewhere on this round, flat planet, egg shaped toroidal field matrix, whatever the heck it is Friday. Well, it's Friday for me, folks. I've created a 3 day weekend for myself, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to get some work done. I'm very excited about what we're working on, making a lot of progress in the background. Never quick enough for me, but this is going to be great stuff coming up for we the people. We're very, very excited about this. Now, today I am super excited because today is Q&A day, and if it goes off well, maybe I'll do this every Thursday. I'm not sure, but it seems like people really love the Q&A because they want to hear what clueless Lewis has to say, probably so they can mock me in the chat, which I'm okay with. It sounds like a lot of fun. So all right, folks, I'm just going to check in the chat. Make sure you give me, well, a 5-5 if you can hear me. I have a feeling you can. And please follow us here, like, and make sure you share. Folks, as you know on Rumble, and I'm not saying it's Rumble's fault, but for some reason, our wonderful subscribers get unsubscribed. So make sure you double check your subscription, and let's see if we can roll, because we are growing on many platforms, but all of the growth seems to be other people recommending us, which is great. We love that, but that also means that we're pretty much shadow banned everywhere. So, how do we get around that? You know, it is a war, so we have to figure out how to get around these things. So, Lisa Richards created a wonderful website called screwbiggov.com. Now, when you go to the website, the first thing I would recommend you do is just sign up for our email notifications, and that's for a couple reasons. She puts together fantastic newsletters every single week, a couple of times a week, which are amazing, great information, and it gives you links to all the stuff that we do. In addition to that, if for some reason we disappear off your favorite platform, guess what? We'll email you and let you know where to find us. And as another backup, when you go to screwbiggov.com, if you click, I believe it's below my picture, but it's towards the top of the page, depending on if you're on mobile or not, you will see all the social media icons. Now, why those are so important is because we're not just shadow banned, we get deleted and banned and effed with on many, many social media platforms. To give you an example, just today we noticed that wonderful video with Tenor and Kristen that I produced called Am I the Only One? Has 176,000 views on YouTube. Ironically, right after that was released, my videos now are getting about 1/15th of the views that they got prior to that video. So clearly, YouTube did some shenanigans and completely shadow banned us there. So this happens all the time. So if you go to ScrewBigGov and you're going to see those social media links, it's super important because you can just click on those. Even if we get deleted, we just put up another account and you're always going to be able to find us. So enough of that. I think people would call that house cleaning. So folks, I think it's time to have some fun. Let's get into the Q&A. I personally just perused these, and I'm not quite sure exactly what we're going to have, but let's check it out. I'm going to pull up the first one here. All right, question one. Are the Neumi products available through Amazon the same as those offered on the website? Okay. Number one, I don't, the company does not sell, Neumi does not sell through Amazon. So these are probably people that either buy these in bulk, you don't know how old they are or what's going on, and they're reselling them on Amazon. There's not going to be any warranty, obviously. They're not going to, they won't refund. These are independent suppliers. So I personally would never purchase something like that from Amazon. That being said, you do what you want because I'm sure they'll offer discounts to try to entice you in this and this. But sometimes quality means a lot more than the price discount. And in addition to that, I would appreciate that you support whoever you're watching that is giving you a Neumi link, because we're doing the work, but yet somebody else is going to get paid on that. So that's your call, but that tells you about the Neumi products. So I don't know exactly if they're real or not. I assume they're not knockoffs, but I wouldn't trust a source on there, and that's just me. All right. Wow, that was easy. If I go through them that quickly, we're going to be done in 20 minutes. All right. Question two. In your opinion, because I value yours among many, Lewis, thank you very much. What are your thoughts on the solar eclipse? Oh, Lord, here we go. All right. I'm going to take a drink for this. No, not alcohol. Today it's decaf tea with stevia in it, because my throat is a little bit raw. Now, here's what's interesting about this eclipse. There's a lot of fervor about this, and I think the reason why is normally eclipses get a little bit of attention, but according to a lot of Christians and some fundamental Christians, they found a biblical reason why they believe this eclipse is the one. The one meaning uh, because this is where God is talking to us and saying, I'm here for you. Pretty much we've got this. They think this is going to be an epic event. There's a whole nother faction that thinks it's going to be a sacrificial event. And then there's another faction out here that believe that these lines of this eclipse parallels huge fault lines in the earth, and going to be separated into three different parts. I mean, it's all over the map, and it always is on these things, guys, because a lot of people just do this to get clips. So here's my take on this. Number one, I'm sitting it out. Why would I do that? I never invest my time or thought in this stuff. It's like buying an iPhone. Why on earth I don't still don't understand why people rush to the store the first day an iPhone is out. Why? All you have to wait is a couple of days, and then you don't have to wait in the line. Is it so important? Is it absolutely so important to get your iPhone on that first day? I don't get it. I've never understood it. I don't. But then again, I don't like crowds. So my take on the eclipse is I'll sit it out and see what happens. One of my concerns is how many times have we heard over and over again, you've got this eclipse, you have this solar flare, you have this event and that event and that event, and it's all going to change everything, and it never has panned out. Not saying this won't, but I'd rather be pragmatic and not spend too much time going and visiting the eclipse and so on and so forth. I've actually seen eclipse a couple of times. Now, that being said, here's my other concern. If you really study the eclipse, people are acting like this is it, this is the one, this is the end all be all, right? But those same people, and the reason why is because it's an X in the United States. Those same people don't tell you that this is going to happen again in 2045. Yes, right. This is going to happen again in 2078, 2052, and 2099. Just a different section of the country. I believe this crosses in southern Illinois, and the other ones cross different sections of the country. All of them, I guarantee you, will be justified as some miracle event. And it may be, because I've seen some scripture that ties into this in regards to God communicating this. I'm just saying I do not invest that much time in this stuff. I'd rather be pragmatic and just wait on it. All right. I hope that kind of explains this, but let's see what happens. And folks, if you're in chat asking me questions right now, I will not attend to those questions as yet. If I get through these in a timely fashion, then I'll open the chat up to questions also. So I hope you appreciate that. I'm kind of the one-man show today, so I don't have time to do all of that stuff. All right. Question number 3. How do we fix our elections to restore their integrity and our confidence in them. Oh, Lord Almighty, that's a good one. All right. First thing we need to do is, in my opinion, is stop saying that we need integrity in our elections. Well, we need complete election reform. The integrity thing would come after the reform because integrity is maintenance. So my point is, after you have something in place, is there integrity in keeping the good integrity part? I believe now we should be focusing on complete election reform. And that doesn't mean reforming for what it should be. It means reforming from what the cabal has installed in regards to dominion machines, multiple day voting, mail in ballots. All of it needs to be gone. Gone, gone, gone. We have the capability to do this with 1 day voting, in person, identification, and count with no problem. We're being lied to when they're pretending it's so complicated. So, in order to fix the elections, it's a tough one because you're going to have to unseat the existing cabal leaders. Now, here's one way to do it is you need to organize and overwhelm the system. But if the system is overwhelmed, they can't get away with it. They just can't because they're not going to be able to get enough ballots in time to do that. And if they were to do it, it's just going to expose the cabal even more than they are. So the it has to be worked from the inside out. The one thing I would say for sure is get active, get in your precincts, be an auditor, be an officer, go in there and try to make some changes, be a monitor, be in the face of any of your board of supervisors daily to make sure to ask the sheriffs to pay attention. So we can do a lot. The reason why, in my opinion, the two things. Number one, we the people don't step up and do our job. And I know it sounds really tough, Lewis. I hear it all the time, but Lewis, they're doing it to us. They're doing it. They're to us. They're doing it to us. Well, I'm sorry. How long does somebody have to be abused in a relationship before they take accountability and say, I'm getting the hell out? So let's stop saying they're doing it to us and let's take it to them. That's number one. Number two is the apathy level is through the roof. And I've mentioned this several times. In 2018, they tested they didn't test to see if they could steal an election. They did it in 2018 in Orange County through ballot harvesting. They shut down the elections. They brought in overnight all the ballots, all the good guys that were elected. Literally, all five of them lost their seats overnight. Flipped the election, and nobody did anything about it. Nobody even complained. In fact, the conservatives actually said out loud, "We'll get them next time." So, number one, we have to step up. Number two, the apathy has to go away. There's nobody looking out for us except God. But God, in my opinion, has given us the strength, the will, and the tools to fix all of this stuff, which I think it's happening. We just have to bring out the numbers. All right. Question 4. Aha. Do you think we are being fooled by both sides? I pray not. Well, I don't want to upset you. I pray not, but absolutely 100%. This is why I said it's gray hats versus black hats. Now, some of this has to be intentional because remember that you can never put the playbook out there. But what you can do is put disinformation out there. And unfortunately, the disinformation has to look real. Therefore, a lot of patriots get sucked into it, right? And when we get sucked into it, we get very upset because it turns out not to be real. But that also has another effect. It gets the enemy off balance. I don't like it, but I do think it's necessary. What I don't like is we are clearly being lied to from both sides. So the key is how are the good guys, which I call gray hats, going to make it up to us in the future so we never have to worry about being lied to by anybody. So yes, I do think we're being fooled by both sides. I do think one has a positive, probably righteous agenda, and one has an evil satanic agenda, right? Ultimately, my biggest concern is not that the gray hats are bad at all. My biggest concern is that they want control also. So let them, if that's the case, let them take out the bad guys. We, the people, gather in numbers as much as we can, and then we hold the new set of so called leaders accountable. And there, if we have to defeat them in the future, well, we'll have the numbers. So let them take care of our hard work right now. So ultimately, I think we're in great shape, not because of the gray hats, although I'm sure they are doing great work in the background from what I believe and know some. But I really truly believe it's we the people is what that so-called trust the plan is. That's about us getting up, activating, and never allowing this to happen again. Okay, who do you think Trump's VP will be? I don't know. President Trump's office called me yesterday and asked me to be VP, and I turned it down. So that's joke, sarcasm. I know I have to say that sometimes. This is sarcasm, having fun. No, I really don't know. It's very clear that Vivek Ramsaway is positioned himself to do that. I'm really concerned with his past pharmaceutical connections and his WEF connections, World Economic Forum. So I can tell you who it won't be. It won't be Chris Christie or God. What is her name? Part of the coven. Whatever. What? I can't believe it. Somebody help me out. Who's the female that was running? I can't believe I forgot her name. And, oh, Nikki Haley. So, anyways, I don't think it'll be Nikki Haley or Chris Christie for sure. I could see a Ben Carson maybe, but I have a feeling President Trump is going to surprise us with that pick, and I think it'll be good. I think Pence was in there to expose Pence previously, and I actually believe he's number 2.0, if you know what I mean. And I don't have my tinfoil hat, so I can't get into it right now. But so I apologize. I do not have the answer to that question, but I'm always authentic. All right, let's see. Number 6. Yeah. What's taking so long for the White Hats to permanently take the MSM down? So this is a theory of mine only. I have no inside information on this whatsoever. If people look at Q, they will believe that it has to be towards the end, and I do agree with that. Here's my thought process, folks. We are in a war, right? And in a war, there comes a time where your enemy is getting defeated, very very good, and therefore you start to go into negotiations, generally called a treaty negotiation, is how are you going to handle things and divide things up, so on and so forth, going forward. This is a very unique one because in general the cabal has created several crimes against humanity. So I'm sure the good guys would not want to be negotiating or giving them too much leeway. In the same time, I would believe that the black hats manipulation, if you know what I mean, i.e., Texas and Hawaii. And if they do have control of those weapons, they do have some leverage right now. So I would believe that's probably why. Because as soon as the MSN is taken down, the whole house of cards for the cabal falls. It's just like arresting Hillary Clinton. I believe the whole house of cards. So there's certain pillars that I believe they probably wouldn't allow, and they're using as leverage right now. That again is my opinion. That being said, I track these numbers closely, and I can tell you right now, the top 10 podcasters, and we're blessed enough to kind of jump in there and jump and fall out of there sometimes. So we're not always in the top 10. But the top 10 podcasters have 4 to 5 times more views than the complete MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News combined. That tells you a lot. So does it really even matter anymore? And X seems to really permeate with our patriot message now too. So again, does the mainstream media matter anymore? You may, from a personal level, think it does because your family or somebody in your family is still chewing on the teat of the mainstream media per se. So I get that. But ultimately, I think we're crushing them. We, the people, are crushing them. And we're definitely crushing their narratives. Wow, they put out a narrative, and within minutes now, we're all over social media just destroying their narrative. So hang in there. I don't know how important MSM is, mainstream media, but I do believe that probably would be some type of treaty, which is how all wars end. Anyways, next question. Can we really take Tucker Carlson seriously? Okay. I may shock you with this answer. It doesn't matter. It's inconsequential. As I've said before, even if somebody is controlled opposition, and I'm not currently saying Tucker is, because I believe somebody had to talk to him and he had to pick a side. I believe he was more of a gray, not a gray hat, but kind of in the middle. He was more neutral, similar to what I believe Elon Musk was before. So that being said, it doesn't matter because if these people are controlled opposition, you still take the best of their information, throw out the rest, and when you prove they do something wrong, because we the people have the power, now you go on their chats and you expose the hell out of them. So just know we can use them to our advantage. So I'm not too concerned whether he is or not. I do think he had a talking to and had to make a choice. Same with Joe Rogan. Same with Branson, Russell Brand. Sorry, Russell Brand. Same with Elon and some others. I believe they had a talking to, and pretty much you had to pick a side. It's just my belief. All right. Do you really think 80% of the U.S. population is currently awake, as apparently required by the White Hats? While I'm not in the U.S., I find that extremely hard to believe. Well, I'm with you. They're not. 80% of the population isn't awake. I mean, we have anecdotal evidence all the time of how many people my wife and I talk to and what we see in chat. And if you go on Twitter and other things like this, they're not even close to 80%. I don't know if it's going to take 80%. That's something that somebody y'all know threw out there. These people haven't always been right with these predictions. I would say, though, that we absolutely have the momentum, and instead of us pushing the ball uphill, I think now we're starting to roll it downhill, which is a lot of fun right now if you really pay attention to these so-called narratives. So the answer is I do not think that 80% of the population is where they would want them to be, but therefore I don't also believe it needs to get to 80% because I think really quickly there'll be a huge awakening. And I envision that, unfortunately, to be more of a financial awakening. And then, boom, we'll be there. We'll be there really, really soon. All right. Question 9. Excluding Hillary, Juan, and Joe Biden, have you met in person, seen online, or remote viewed anyone who you strongly believe is wearing a mask, is a clone, or AI? And who? Okay. I don't remote view often anymore because I'm on another tact with We the People, and I look. Does it serve We the People right now? It doesn't. So that's the only reason why I don't do it. I believe I've done fairly well. I'm confident in it. Love it. I know some Christian fundamentalists get mad at me. Oh, you're inviting demons in. They don't really understand the way remote viewing works. If that's what they think. You can be a staunch Christian and still do remote viewing if you understand how to protect yourselves and do it through love. That being said, the only time I dug into this is there was some popular podcasters that were claiming that President Trump was, and that I did remote view. I saw him in a actively in a limousine traveling down the road. I believe it was Florida, and I got the feeling that's 100% him. And then I did it again, and I got another feeling, and I got very interesting. I kept, which never really happened before. I kept getting pushed out of this remote view, like just like, okay, I saw what I saw. Frankly, he was in pajamas, and I just kept getting knocked out, knocked out, knocked out. And I don't go. I go into that privately with some people because it is an interesting story. Publicly, I don't need to stir up any drama. But so that being said, no, that's the only time I've done it, and I probably won't do it anytime soon in regards to that. And guys, I just tell it like it is. So, and a lot of people would rather have me go certain directions and so on and so forth. I just do what I feel I'm called to do. So it's my life is hard in respect to all the work I do and the crap I have to put up with. But that being said, it's very easy because I just listen to God's voice directly and I move forward. So in that respect, it's very simple. And as you've heard me say many times, if it's simple, it's probably God's work. And if it's complicated, maybe it's something else. We are ripping through these. Question 10. Lewis, of all things you've done for the truth movement, is there one thing that you would never do again? Absolutely not. I believe in failing forward. Even if I made a mistake, I find there's probably a very good lesson there. I absolutely believe that every little change you would make, change in your past, may completely take you off course in a different direction. So I 100% know I'm here at the right time, and all the decisions, even if they could have been bad decisions, are good decisions because it is part of the path that I'm taking. And I really believe, as you've seen, if you've seen my video on here about limitless behavior, I absolutely believe in failing forward. And I look at failure as an opportunity to hone your skills. So, nope, absolutely not. I don't regret anything whatsoever. I used to say I regretted not pursuing football more because that was probably out of everything I ever done. That was my highest level of skill, and pretty sure I would have made it all the way. But I don't regret that anymore either because I'm sure I wouldn't be here today. So I'm very happy with all the decisions I've made. And that doesn't mean I made all good decisions. Let's just be clear about that. I've made some bad decisions, but I'm happy with them. All right. Question 11, one of my two favorite numbers. Hi, Lewis. Why do we not see Jason Q on your program anymore? Okay. Well, I'll be honest about that. So, Jason and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I think he's highly intelligent. He's like a savant. I believe he's got over 1 million documents now that he's printed himself, which I think is excellent. I think he does phenomenal exposures. Right? It was just time for us to go in different directions. So I have no animosity towards JQ at all. In fact, I always wish him the best. And I hope he keeps delivering for we the people because that's what matters the most. So I know people try to stir up stuff in regards to that. It's a nothing burger, just so you know. So it was just a decision that was made. I think probably pretty mutually actually. But anyway, so that's about it. Sorry, I can't give you anything more dramatic than that. Not that's what you're looking for, but it is what it is. All righty. All right. Question 12. Why do you think Jamie Dimon flipped for Trump? Aha. Again, I think there's some key cogs in the wheel that are going to help turn this around, and he probably had a talking to. So, this is only a scenario in my head, and I go through this stuff all the time. I can imagine Jamie Dimon may have done a lot of bad things in the financial realm, supporting certain people, where he put his money behind, so on and so forth. But did he touch kids? My guess, if the gray hats are working with him, he probably did not. And he was also, like I believe Tucker was and other people, given an option. Because that's a big flip. You have somebody that was a Hillary supporter to be able to flip that one and him come out, especially because he's in the financial realm, and to say that Trump's your guy, that endorsement is better than any political endorsement out there, by the way. So I think that's very, very powerful. So my guess is probably some. I don't think he did it just naturally, because I do think the top level executives and corporations, top level entertainers, I believe they're all absolutely compromised. So I believe somebody had a talking to him and pretty much said, you need to pick a side. So that's my point of view. I think that that's what happened. All right. Okay. So what is your take on Mike Gill's position on Flynn and O'Keefe? All right. I've kind of addressed this before. So I've interviewed Mike. I had a private conversation with him, and I'm going to be open and honest since it was probably over a year ago. So I'll just give you the details. Mike talked to me. This is before he was public on this, and he said he's very frustrated with General Flynn and President Trump because he says, "I know that they have the Pandora Papers. I got the Pandora Papers to them myself." So he was very, very frustrated in regards to that. So that being said, I asked him some more questions, and these were not being recorded. This is just a private conversation that he and I were having, and I did end up recording them. I think the second time, and that was for the movie Cages. So he actually has a nice spot in there in Cages, where he's doing some disclosures. Now, at the time, to me, he was frustrated because he thought that if Flynn and Trump would release this information. I'm intentionally not going into O'Keefe because I'm not too familiar with that. But he thought if Flynn and Trump would have released this information, they would have been able to take down the cabal. Now, Mike, I think, has done great work. Mike has been attacked. When I was talking to Mike, he was actually on the run from hotel to hotel to motels all over the place. He was on the run from the bad guys. And then, so right after he came out publicly, I believe it was on Michelle Moore's show, I texted him. So, Mike, what's up with this? When he came out publicly talking about Flynn and President Trump and other people that he was having an issue with. I believe Juan was one of them. And I texted him. I go, hey, what's up? And it was a very short text back and forth. And he says, hey, I'd love to talk about this. Super busy. I'll get back to you. And he never got back to me. Now, I know Mike not a lot, but I know him well enough that if I would have retexted him, we would have re-engaged. But what I do sometimes, if you want to know my strategy, is I let these dramatic situations just burn out. I don't like jumping in the drama, and I'm in the midst of it right now with a couple of situations, and I really despise it. So that being said, I believe part of what's going on is Mike's frustrated because he's still under attack and he believes this could have all been over. Now, I've said this publicly and I would say it to Mike, and I like his information. I think he's a little naive on the bigger picture. And that's how serious it is when it comes to adrenochrome. And there's a whole satanic agenda. There's an underground war and a lot of other things going on. So I believe he's a little myopic when he wants this stuff released right away. Although there's a lot of his information I really, really like. So I'm not going to go soft or hard on Mike at this moment. I'm going to sit back and wait on it. But I think his intentions are good, but I do think his frustration level is so high. One of the reasons why I haven't brought him on the show is because I I think where he's at is he's very emotional right now. That's just my opinion. I mean, I hope Mike watches this. If he disagrees, he can dispute it with me. I've had nothing but good contact with him. Not a lot, by the way, 4 or 5 times. And that's including text messages and so on and so forth. But I hope that kind of may clarify it for you. Hey, what do we have here? Forever Young. That's right. Folks, this is one of just, I would say, three companies that I have absolutely adore. Adore. And here's why. Because I think they're working for the greater good. I talked to one of the vice presidents today via text message, and she's just amazing. But they really are trying to take care of pets. And I've seen a massive difference in my pets based on them just taking the mushrooms and eating real food. Know that there's only like four companies that run the whole food industry for pets, and it's virtually all poisons. And go figure, I think they're candy bar companies. How does that even make sense, right? And the pet industry is not regulated like it should be. Therefore, they pour all the bad stuff in there. So I've seen a market difference just changing the food, and then you add on to it the super sauce and the mushrooms for the doggies. And I'm just saying, guys, amazing. There's stuff for cats, horses in there. I'd say if anything, folks, just give it a shot. Get something, and I think you're going to find the difference. The testimonials I get from that blow me away. How people are so freaking happy with it. So just go to spgpets.com, spgpets.com, and get yours today. All righty. Back to the questions. What is the first thing you do when you realize that you reached the saturation point on the bazillion narratives floating about and know that you need to disengage? Well, for me, I jump in the jacuzzi and just chill, which I haven't done in a while. And I've been a little bit aggressive lately, so maybe I should do that sooner than later. It's tough. It is tough. There is so many different narratives. So I always like to say use your discernment, but at the same time, it's good not just to use your discernment, but kind of break down the conversations you have and ask yourself, is there an ulterior motive to this? Great example is a friend of mine, which is usually in chat, I don't know if he is right now, sent me a text today, uh, and it was a truther that was doing, had a 1 minute video that I feel was pretty fear pornish, and he just happened to have a link to buy a product right under it that would protect him from that fear porn. So, am I saying that's bad? No, because if he actually had the product and it's a good solution, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe in fear porn, and certainly I don't believe in putting out fear porn in order to sell something. So, if I shut off my discernment alone and I just said, okay, let me break this down from a common sense, could there be an ulterior motive here? Sometimes that helps you. The one thing I will say, and this gets most truthers very mad, is I would say pick your top four or five and put the others on the shelf. If they have something to say, somebody's going to let you know about it anyways. So I would not be looking at too many narratives out there right now. Pick four or five that you resonate with the most, and then believe me, you're not going to miss anything. If something's important, like let's say your four or five are not talking about the solar eclipse, somebody's going to forward it to you and you're going to be able to look at it anyway. So I would recommend disengage before you disengage. So disengage from all the platforms, spend some time off of social media. I like to put my feet in the grass, which I don't do very often. Actually, today I sat out in the sun. Of course, I was working on my phone when I did, but at least I got some sun time. Little things like that for me are extraordinarily helpful. And find your connection with that higher power. I think that is mega important because I do believe God is actually guiding us through this great awakening. All righty. Do you think there might be controlled opposition, psyops, and or disinformation within the Second Amendment community? I haven't really heard of them called the Second Amendment community, but hey, that's cool. Um, the answer is 100% yes, absolutely, no shadow of a doubt. Okay, so think about it. Anything that we have passion about gets infiltrated. If you're a Christian, you have passion about Christianity and the Bible. Do you not think your churches have not been infiltrated? They are one of the largest targets out there. So common sense would say if there's groups out there that are very heavy into 2A, they've absolutely been infiltrated. There's controlled opposition in there. And remember what the purpose, and I'm glad you brought this question up because this is one of my things I like to talk about. Remember what the purpose of controlled opposition is. Controlled opposition is all about grabbing market share. Why would they do that? Because if they can take your eyes off the real message and control the message while they are controlled opposition, and boom, controlled opposition. He's doing the same thing now, by the way, in regards to President Trump. So he is set in there for a reason. He grabs market share. So that means if you spend a lot of time watching Dan Crenshaw, he's drawing your eyes away from what you really should be paying attention to. That's the main motivation of controlled opposition, in my opinion. It's market share. Great example of that is Fox News. Fox News came on the scene. They were struggling. Then the next thing you know, they said all the right things. And guess what? They quadrupled their viewership over CNN and MSNBC and all the other local news channels. Couldn't compete. Fox News was everything. And then you have controlled opposition CIA asset Sean Hannity, right? Telling you don't protest, don't boycott. Why? Because those are two of the most effective things out there. So that's why he's telling you not to do it. They grab that market share, right? And then what did Fox News do on the night of the 2020 elections? Fox News, no independent, not CNN, not MSNBC, nothing international, but Fox News called Arizona first. So premature that even people on the set were like, what the hell's going on here? And they were on mics too, and they got cut off really quick. So that's another example of controlled opposition. So to think that every aspect of the patriot movement doesn't have controlled opposition, no, it absolutely does. I'm going to tell you, you have several controlled opposition podcasters out there right now. Sorry, it is what it is, and you're gonna find out soon enough who they are. And I'm not saying I'm going to be part of the exposure process because I think God takes care of that timing for us. And they'll give them enough rope and they'll all hang themselves. So just know there's absolutely controlled op, there's psyops in every part of the patriot movement. But it's okay because you are sovereign on your own. You have discernment on your own. You have common sense and analytical skills on your own. You don't need me, certainly, and you don't need anybody else. If I can help usher you through this war or maybe motivate you to get involved in your community, cool. I did my job. But definitely don't count on me to give you all the answers. If anything, I'm annoying because I kind of try to get you to search for the answers yourself. And I understand that. By the way, I understand that my following could be 10 times as large if I played the fear porn, the hopium game, or I just told everybody what they wanted to hear, right? Sorry, that's not authentic. So I'll take this following, and I believe the cap will be let off of me when the time comes, and we'll see what happens. All right. So, number 16. All these endless stories about Boeing problems. If there are severe issues, wouldn't white hats not allow them to fly? Okay. Great question. Let me ask you something. Anybody out here, have you ever bought a new car? Isn't it funny after you drive your car off the lights off the lot suddenly, excuse me, even if it's not new, could be used. And yes, folks, you do hear water in the background. That is my fish tank. Thank you very much. So, when you drive your car off the lot, or you buy it on who knows from somebody local, next thing you know, you see that model of car everywhere you're driving, right? When you get pulled over by a cop, maybe get a ticket or a warning, next thing you know, you see a cop all over the place. That's just human nature. That's what we pay attention to, right? When I got in the fitness industry, next thing you know, I'm evaluating everybody's fitness, and I didn't even want to. And I'm admiring some bodies I'm like, oh, they could do this work and this work and this work, but it's just because that was what I was in. So what we're immersed in, sometimes we see a lot more. So how does this liken to the Boeing issues? Okay, it's the same thing with the news media. The news media does the same thing, and we do the same thing on TikTok and everything else. It's human nature. When a story comes up, we look for more corroborating stories or things going on. Do I think there's issues with Boeing? Absolutely. Do I believe that's probably true also. That being said, is I do believe there's a rigorous inspection process, and I don't think there's a bunch of Boeing planes flying out there that are going to crash anytime soon. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But I do believe part of this is psychological, and we tend to jump on the narratives that are similar to what we've heard before. So, great example. Have you ever noticed that there's multiple plane crashes, small ones, small like Piper planes, all within a week or two? I don't think the cabal's taken all of them out. I think what happens is one crashes, not a big story. Another one crashes, and that becomes a big story. And after the big story, every other single one is reported, no matter where it is in the world. I think that's part and parcel of what we do as human nature. So I'm not too concerned about the Boeing planes, to be honest with you. That being said, what if they're creating the narrative as an excuse to take somebody out? No, I'm joking. I'm just joking. They do that generally in small planes, not the bigger ones. Um, Plus, it seems like all the people that so-called matter to the cabal are flying personal jets nowadays, anyways. All right. Some people's favorite number, question 17. Do you feel like events written out in the Bible had happened in the past, or are we actually living it all out right now? Where is the real Israel in your opinion? Wow, that's heavy. Okay. And folks, we have one question after this. So if you want to ask any questions and you're in chat, please type it in all capital letters for me to have a chance to see it. All right. So do you feel like events written out in the Bible had happened in the past, or are we actually living it all out right now? Um, it's interesting. Maybe both, or maybe it's happening again. And I've heard there's a lot of mention of everything has to be done twice. Um, so maybe it's happening again. So there's two things I do believe. I do believe um, that the Bible has a lot of predictions that seem like they're coming true right now, that parallel. So, yes, I believe we are living it out right now, a lot of it. Here's my concern, and this is what I want everybody to kind of grasp, because I think we jump on the Bible narrative sometime and we think it's always good. Remember, the cabal will absolutely use things that are predicted in the Bible in order to bring in their second coming, which is not the true one. That's a false prophet. So we have to understand that they may want to duplicate things in the Bible in order to bring in that bad guy, that Messiah, whoever you want to call him. So I really like to pay attention to this stuff when it comes out, and but I do see a lot of parallels. The question is, are they all good? Are they all bad? Or maybe there's a mixture of both. And I think it's more likely it could be a mixture of both. They truly are replaying out, which is kind of cool. And I do believe that the Black Hats will do everything they can to event and create some events that parallel what you would see in the Bible and other scripture in order to justify their dastardly deeds. So I absolutely believe that to be true. Um, all right. Last question here, and then I'll go to the chat questions. Should all business people in New York dissolve their interest there and start up somewhere else, taking their employees with them? Okay, it's a hard one. I'd hate to give them advice because here's what happens when businesses leave, you destroy the local economy, which also hurts good people. And some people are entrenched in there, and some people want to fight for New York. So it's hard for me to tell them to do that. But that being said, I think the number one strategy that we, the people, have is affecting the income and the finances of the cabal. So when big businesses, if we'd convince them to leave there, suddenly those politicians would have to pay attention and their masters may not have as much stronghold on them if the money's not flowing in from the taxes and all money laundering in New York, just to be honest with you. So it's that's a double-edged sword. So yes, it's a good strategy, but at the same time, remember that they're going to affect the local population that may be trying to save New York. And I'm not a fan of New York. I live near Los Angeles. Not a fan of Los Angeles. Um, but if it's going to collapse because it gets rid of all the demons, I'm all for it. That being said, I also want to protect the good people that are there. So I hope that answered that question. I know it's kind of all over the map on that. Um, all righty. So, see. Oh, oh, you mean I can bring him up. Oh, cool. Can they hear you? Can they hear you, Lisa, or does it look like sound like I'm talking to myself? They're gonna let me know in chat any moment, I'm sure. Okay, so I click on comments. Wow. Look at that. Isn't that special? Okay, cool. All right, we're going to go back to. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate you. All right. Looks like the first question is, what would you recommend to remove spike proteins? Okay. I believe Lance Shetler from Ascent said berberine is really good. I know pine needle extract is good. I believe Neumi does a great job in resetting the body to help with that. Um, I've personally, I've taken a bath with Epsom salt and some essential oils just to make sure I'm taken care of. Um, lots and lots of real good water, I believe is helpful. And believe it or not, what I've, if I'm right, what I've discovered with spike proteins is time helps eliminate those. They're a little bit different from the overall effects from the jab, but time helps eliminate those also. Um, and that's all I can tell you. I don't know about medical advice. It's not my wheelhouse, but I do know a little bit about nutrition. All right, let's see what else we have here. Did you see Jake Ansley? I believe you mean Chansley's new video today. Nope. Guys, I rarely watch videos. I'm so busy with my list of things to do. If there's something really, really important that you think I should look at, what I would prefer is somebody says, okay, here's the link to the video. Look at, for example, 5 minutes to 10 minutes. This is what I want you to look at. And I generally will go take a look at those. But when somebody just says, can you look at a whole video? Unfortunately, guys, and I like Jake too. I mean, I met Jake twice. I think he's a good guy doing good things, but I don't watch his stuff, and I just a little bit too busy to do that. Although I should probably bring him on the show. Thank you for giving me that idea. All right, next up, thoughts on Tim Ballard and Jim Caviezel accusations at the moment. Remember, you're going to have controlled opposition in the movement. The question is it controlled opposition that they could be doing the dirty deeds, or is it controlled opposition pretending to be good in order to smear somebody's name? So I would have to hold off on that one. As for now, I need to get some more information. It doesn't fully resonate with me, and I'm not. I would say one of the guys there I'm not a huge fan of, but it still doesn't resonate with me at the moment. But I believe it does need some more digging, not some speculation, and definitely we want to see some receipts on something like that. That's a huge accusation. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Thoughts on Trump and Monday's bond deadline? I hate doing predictions. I have a feeling that they're going to miss the deadline on purpose because this helps expose the lawfare of what the cabal is doing. And I'm seeing in virtually all these cases, all of them, and all these new laws that are coming on the books, this is all lawfare. And I believe this has a lot to do with exposure. Now, I like to look from a pragmatic view, so I will tell you honestly, I don't know if these are the good guys exposing and making sure all these crazy laws are coming out, so we go, oh wow, this is ridiculous, this is lawfare, or the deep state has their backs in the corner and they're throwing all the spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. I think this seems to be more controlled by the good guys. So I would say my guess is they will not hit the deadline and they to force the next move of the cabal. That would be my guess on this, but we'll see. Um, Next up, okay, I'm looking for other questions. We might be over here. Excuse me, I'm just running through these really, really quick. That looks like it. All right, cool guys. I hope this was. Oh, says you forgot to answer the second part of the question. Oh, thank you. Here, let me put this up. Thank you, Law 67. Says you forgot to answer the second part of the question. Where is the real Israel? Okay. Yeah, let's end up with one that's going to piss a lot of people off. I do not think Israel is where we're told Israel is. I do not. I've seen some compelling evidence that it might be in Ireland. I believe Israel is in somewhere in the 48 states. I think there's an argument that it could be somewhere in Utah and or Texas, possibly Florida, but I'm leaning more towards possibly Texas. And that's why we save Israel for last would actually make a lot of sense. I think you have fake Israel and you have the real Israel. And I know this really upsets people. I think the current Israel you see is run by the Khazarian mafia. And I know we tend to buy into the narratives because Trump and some other politician you like is supporting Israel. Remember, Trump does a lot of things for optics, right? And I'll give you an example. So Scott McKay got just beat up by the Jews because he pointed out truth about Khazarian Mafia, and it changed a lot for him. So it's not a popular subject, although I think the subject needs to be told. And me personally, I believe definitely the government of the current Israel as you know it over there is the Khazarian Mafia. Now, some people, when I say that I don't believe Israel is there, they'll show me some Bible verses to prove it is. But I've read them after they send it to me, and it still doesn't prove it. It's kind of like speculation. Because remember, everything that's named that's been pointed out to me was named after the Bible came out, anyways. So you don't think that the cabal would have intentionally been naming cities and mountains and things like that after the fact? Of course they would have. So when you bring that up as evidence, I don't see it is. So I'm going to go with my gut. It's telling me, and I've said this to many friends. I believe it's in the current somewhere within the 48 contiguous states of the United States. That's where I believe Israel is, and to be proven out, which would, by the way, biblically make a lot of sense with what's going on here. So we'll see, right? All right. So, folks, I'm working on some stuff. I'm going to play us out with a beautiful song. I'm going to take the next 3 days to work. If you reach out to me, maybe on chat or Telegram or X or one of those platforms, I'll do my best to reply because, like I say, I only do this for we the people. I really appreciate you. And most of all, I really think you should appreciate yourself because you mean a lot. God has you here for a reason. This is no accident whatsoever. God bless. Have a fantastic, fantastic weekend. Love from me. I'm out.